Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, Doctor, today we are going to discuss about the present monetary system and its implication. So, can you please explain me what's the present monetary system and its implications for society?
Thank you, Brother Basheer. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadan Nabil Ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Brother Basheer, just to give you a brief background to the monetary system, the present monetary system, we call it, the money that we use, we call it fiat money. Maybe you have heard about it.
Yeah.
It's basically, when we say fiat money, means it's money that is not backed by anything real. So what is the opposite to that is real money. So real money is where in the past, when in the Muslim societies, when Muslims used to gold, silver as money, the dinar, dirham. So we call that real money. Why is real? Because the money itself got its own value. So people desire gold for its own sake, they desire silver for its own sake, right? But today it is simply piece of paper or electronic, no value. Yeah. So this model, it has a lot of implications for society, huge implications. So let me explain what are the implications, because that is necessary for us to understand its implications for society, the Muslims, and also what we have to do in the future. The first thing is when the money is mostly, when it's printed, it is printed by the central bank, mostly by the central bank of government. So when you print, the cost of printing is very negligible, small. But then the paper, once it's printed, it carries a lot of purchasing power. So that is the reason why you and me cannot print money at home. It's illegal. So if you right? Why? Because it gives unfair benefit. But in the present system also, somebody gets the benefit. Well, people might say, well, it is printed by central bank. Central bank is government, so government represents people. So it's not an issue, right? But what most people, they don't realize is that most of the money is actually electronic or numbers only. So when you transfer money electronically through the ATM or this thing, only electronic records are being transferred, no paper money being transferred. So that thing that becomes money, it starts its life when the bank creates loan. So when people go for housing loan, car loan, business loan, the money is created out of nothing at that moment. And most of the banks today, they are privately owned. So these banks, they get unfair benefit of creating money out of nothing. And if you look at the statistics from countries, 90% or more of money that is being circulated actually comes from like this, created by commercial banks. So what is the implication number one? The number one is, if you give me the right to create money, definitely I'll become rich. Correct. Everybody goes to work, they work and then they earn here, some of them get very low wage, they complain, right? So they go on life like that. Now here's someone who is actually creating their money. So it's like feeding chicken, remember that you take you throw the rice, all the chicken will come. So the banker is the one who's throwing the feed, and the rest of the economy is like the chicken trying to grab the money that is being thrown into the economy. So it gives an unfair benefit, number one. So who will get easily a business loan if you go to a bank? It's people who are already rich. You go there, then you look, credit worthy, therefore the bank will give you easily a loan. A poor person goes, or someone who just wants to start the business, he needs capital, they will say, oh, you don't have a record, you don't have experience, you don't have nothing. They will not approve the financing easily. So newly created money is also given to rich people. They already have money, but they become. So you will see the rich become richer, the poor become poorer one. That's number one. Now, number two is that when the bank gives out the loan in the present system, mostly in the interest, they charge interest. Mathematically, interest is an exponential function. Exponential means it keeps on going faster and faster like that, becomes bigger and bigger like that. So what happens is that when the loan is given at interest, let's say 1 million is given to a business as loan, 10% is the interest. So how much is the interest? 10% of the 1 million. 100,000 must be given at interest. But 100,000 does not exist in the form of money in the system. Only the 1 million given is circulating among the people, creating economic activity. But the system that took the loan must pay back to the bank 10% extra. And the system doesn't have the right to create money. So where the 10% going to come from? So in the overall structure, somebody must default. So when they default, the bank will go after the real, for the real things. They may foreclose a property, or they may take a land from the borrower, because you can't pay back the loan. You see? So this is, that means the structure of taking the real things from the economy is by design of the system. So wealth keeps transferring to the banking system that creates money out of nothing. You see? So that is number two. So the default is by structure. So you see, the other thing is that, remember I mentioned the money grows, the loan grows exponentially. So it grows exponentially, become larger and larger. Debt is growing in the economy. Loans rising. And then at the same time, the money in the system is growing, because money, the numbers are growing as money. But the real economy, the ability of people to produce goods, ability of the people to produce cars, for example, or furniture, that one cannot grow exponentially. I can go for, let's say, 3 hours of work today. Tomorrow maybe 4 hours can, 5 hours, 8 hours, okay, maybe maximum 24 hours. Can you keep on increasing the number of hours you can? Cannot. So this system, monetary system, will always win, because it's by structure, by numbers, by time only. It grows, money grows, but the economy doesn't grow at that rate. So there's a difference between the growth of the economy and the growth of money. So the difference will show up as inflation. When the inflation goes into certain sector like housing, it becomes huge inflation, we call that bubble. So we call housing bubble, stock market bubble, .com bubble, and things like that. So the loan grows, and then when it becomes unbearable for the economy and people are unable to pay the loans, it collapses. You see, it shrinks. When it shrinks, a lot of real wealth will transfer to the bank. So the cycle goes on and on like that. So overall, what will happen? Whoever doing banking business, they are in the right, making all the wealth of the nation will be rich. You see? So this is the structure. You see, this is the structure. So when we look at it, what is the implication of this from Islamic, when we look at even a lot of the ulamas of the past, when the way they have defined what riba is, it's a clear riba. The present paper money system is a clear riba. And when we go back to the Quran, we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, there's the last verse to be revealed in the Quran is about riba. This is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari also, the last verse. Imagine 23 years Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals on many issues, myriad issues, but the last one he chose is on the issue of riba, and there Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala threatens believers. If you still take riba, then take notice of war from Allah and His Messenger. Is the warning for non-Muslims? No, that warning is for Muslims. So in other words, we Muslims must be very, very, what is riba? We must understand that is the last warning from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After that verse comes, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. I've already perfected the religion for you. I've perfected, why? There's a warning from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Take care of this. Take care of this issue. Right? So when we look at it, this thing, it's one issue where it's difficult, I must admit, it's a difficult issue to understand. Because we need to understand these economic concepts, mathematics and things like that to understand the implications. You see? So then when we look at it, when this system, the maqasid of Sharia cannot be attained, because one of the maqasid is protection of wealth. Protection of wealth is one of the maqasid of Sharia. So if anybody comes and puts a system like this, ultimately through inflation and through inability to pay back the loans, everything, the wealth will get transferred to other people. So you cannot protect the wealth in this system. So since the
Doctor, is this monetary system is compatible with Maqasid Sharia?
So as I mentioning to you, Brother Basheer, as you can see that very clearly it is not, because we are unable to protect the wealth of the people and wealth of the nation. So if you look at in the present system, look at internationally, American dollar is international currency. So when they create, it is created electronically. Most of the money is just electronic dollar. So you are producing oil. Let's say Saudi Arabia is producing oil, many countries producing oil. We have other resources. They will just give you the electronic record and take away the wealth. You see?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Correct.
So in fiat monetary system, so whoever has the international currency, if your the currency becomes international currency, you get that benefit. You just create out of nothing and then you just throw it like the and then all the real things will come to you. With that, you can build a strong army, you can build this economy, you become rich. See, this is the present implication of the way the world is running. That is the reason I say why the Muslim world is very weak. After the Ottoman Caliphate collapsed, and then entirely everyone is using paper money, which we are not really in control. So once you are not in control of the creation of the paper money system, you will be subdued. Because whatever you produce, the other party will just print the money or electronically create, even very easily can be electronically created. They just exchange that with you. So all your resources will move. See that? So this is the issue that I would say why the Muslim world is very weak today.
Maybe what's the reason to this exchange from the gold dinar to this currency? Maybe what's the reasons?
What is the
reason?
Maybe
easy to handle.
Not really. You see, if you say it's easy to handle, initially that's what Bretton Woods was. Bretton Woods was, they say, okay, there's money, paper money, easy to handle, yes.
Also safe also.
Correct, yeah, it's also easy, safe. Okay, if you want the money, you go gold, you go to the bank depository, you give the receipt, which is the money, and they give you the gold. So Bretton Woods was like that. The dollar, American dollar was pegged to the gold like that. So you can bring the dollar to the Federal Reserve and exchange it for gold. That's Bretton Woods. The gold standard before that was all countries like that. They bring their currency, national currency to the central bank and you can exchange it for gold or silver. But the problem was Bretton Woods, what happened? In late 1960s, during the Vietnam War, America printed more dollars than the gold they had.
Oh.
You see? To finance the war. Then President de Gaulle of France and others said, these people are simply printing a lot of money. When they brought the dollars for exchange, they said, no, cannot exchange. Then they closed the gold exchangeability, right? So then Bretton Woods collapsed. So since 1971, after Bretton Woods collapsed, the whole world has been all just paper money system. And that's why it's all chaotic. Economic crisis, there crisis, here crisis, everywhere crisis, until today. You see, why? Because the monetary system is now separate from the real economy. And it's just growing, has become a huge bubble.
Yes.
It's just waiting to burst. A big burst is going to happen anytime.
All over the world.
Yeah. And we it's just very difficult to predict when it will happen. I actually was thinking it's going to burst in 2012. So it's already 6 years already, right? So difficult to predict when, but it's sure to happen because it's just become a huge bubble. They are doing all kinds of things, all kinds of manipulation, just to keep it floating a bit. But how long, is it? So then this is the issue now. This is the issue. So the Muslims, we understand that it is a riba, the present system. We cannot protect the maqasid of Sharia through this. It is a system that's not in favor in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if it is riba, So we as ulamas must look into it. If this is a riba, means we need to have our system, So when we look at back, very clear, I say look back what Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us. When you look at back, what Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us, he gave us the dinar and dirham system. our Sharia principles of muamalat, zakat, hudud, mahar, all are based
Everything
on gold
based
and gold and silver as the standard. That cannot be this thing. It cannot be something that we can do something better than that.
Because Prophet already mentioned.
Yes, the Prophet ﷺ said, this is the perfected the religion. This is the religion. But now all of these things, people are talking, oh, we can have a better system, So we need to go back and see what is the hikmah behind all this. Now, even in fact, in today's world, we must still go back to the same principles. We can keep the principles, but we can use modern method of implementation. Modern method of implementation, but the principles must be intact. For example, in those days, the Prophet ﷺ used to take the camel or horse to ride, and then they read the musafir, dua musafir. Today we go into the car or train or aeroplane, we recite the dua musafir. So similarly, we have to see the economic principles of the monetary system, gold and silver. In my opinion, we keep the principles, but we implement the principles using electronic modern method of electronic money, even mobile money. We have to use mobile money today, but behind those movements of money, there must be gold, silver, real things. See? This is what So noticing this kind of things that we need to do. First, education is we need to educate the Muslims. Then we need to actually form groups to implement the thing, right? So we form this group, the Movement for Monetary Justice. You see, I was the dean of you read to me. I was the dean of the Institute for Islamic Banking and Finance for a couple of years. So this is what I always highlighted. You see, our Sharia scholars, they brought the Sharia principles, made the Sharia principles alive again, right? In Islamic banking, but the Islamic banking has one more step to go: the money. Without real money, the Islamic contracts actually become invalid, in my opinion. Because I can see, because it has a negative implication on society. How can something that is have a negative implications on society is Sharia compliant? Correct or not? So that is the issue. So our Sharia scholars have done a good job, but there's one more step.
So what will be the solution? How we do move forward?
Move forward. That's
with this system.
This system. That's a very good question. I've thought a lot into this, and finally I said we have to use modern electronic methods, and the money has to be real. The measure of value must be real. Like Imam Al-Ghazali and few other scholars like Ibn Khaldun and others, they have mentioned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created gold and silver as measure of value. So we have to go back and use gold and silver just as measure of value. We don't even have to go have gold for every transaction we do. Just to use them as measure of value. That means if
that's what happening now, That's what happening now.
Where?
We not using as a measurement.
No.
Completely changed.
No. For example, I have to say, if I buy a book or something, I have to tell you what is the how much is this in dirham, or how much is this in dinar, and so on.
Like that.
Like that. I must tell you in equivalent of gold, because 1 dinar is 4.25 grams of gold. So if you go back to the time of the Prophet ﷺ, even if you are expert in you will find hadith where Prophet ﷺ giving to the Sahabas dinar and asking them to buy lamb that time. A dinar, 4.25 grams of gold, can buy you a goat, a sheep, and so on. Today also, if you have a dinar, you can buy a goat or lamb, because a coin is about 850 to 900 ringgit today. You can buy these things in Malaysia, right? So you see, for 1,400 years, how it maintains its purchasing power, right? But every fiat money, you give it 20-30 years, it will become like no value. In Malaysia, I was in this thing. If I had 1 ringgit in 1970s, which was 40 years or 50 years ago, 1970s, if you had 1 ringgit, you can buy 10 roti canai. Have you tried roti canai? You can buy 10 roti canai for 1 ringgit.
It means 10 cents per
roti canai. Coffee also 10 cents. So with 20 cents, you can have a nice breakfast. But what happened to that purchasing power today?
Really has gone.
For how many years? Just 50 years. But look at the gold coin. You're talking about 1,400 years how it maintains its purchasing power. So same thing, we will use gold as the measure of value, but we use electronic methods and for dealing. So when we buy goods and services, I pay you electronically. But there is gold behind. So if you want your gold, go to the depository or the one who is handling the system, take your gold from there. You see? So we make it a very fast journey. So I want to send money to India from just electronic my handphone, wherever I am. I don't have to go and line up in Western Union, then in this. Transfer, zoom. The person's money already received on his information ready.
How it happens? How it can be happen? Mobile.
The way to do is, if you ask me, the best way to move forward with this is it is to introduce the system in a dual system. That means the present paper money system will be there, but you implement this like a chamber of commerce, Islamic chamber of commerce, or a cooperative with different businesses in the cooperative. We form them and we tell them, okay, for people in this group, we will buy and sell the goods among us. We will price them in gold and silver. Okay? And I have already done a software for that. I call it iGens. iGens is interest-free, gold-based, electronic netting system. So you do trade, buy and sell, all of you buy and sell. Then at the end of a month or whatever period, we net off. Net how much I've bought, how much I've sold, we net off. Only the difference we settle among ourselves in gold and silver. When we do like that, so a lot of businesses can take place among the people without the use of money. But at the end of the period, we settle it. I think this is so far, I've designed this thing to see, this is so far, it is the best in my opinion. Even though you can slightly make it better employing the blockchain technology. The way the bitcoins and things like that, they're using what we call blockchain technology. You can make it slightly better than what I have right now. Okay, but when you implement this within the group, that is the best way. Why within the group is best? I don't believe in forcing people. Now I'm telling you how nice, to have gold and this thing. But how many people there are going to buy? Yes, what Prof Kameel is saying is correct, isn't it?
We can predict.
Isn't it? Predict. So people who believe in this system, we make a market for it. So within the people you establish, the other guys, let them find out the goodness and slowly come in. We don't have to force people, you see. I always believe in this. So put a dual system and let the thing grow. If it is good, they'll automatically come.
Yeah, of course.
You see? So this is the way forward I see for the Muslims, how we can solve the riba issue in money. And we can, in this way, we can make the entire the economy grow stable and also become just. It's a fair system, because economic fairness is one of the principles of Islam, is being fair, and it will bring back that fairness. And other things that the world is looking that this system can bring is sustainability. Everything is collapsing. Eco-sustainability, economic sustainability, everything is now collapsing. Why do you think America is now also becoming weak and collapsing? Because of the fiat monetary system. In 1990s, when the Soviet Union collapsed, they were sole superpower. They were sole superpower for only 20 years. They're already collapsing. You see? Nobody is actually threatening them, but by the structure
itself.
By the structure of the system. And there's another implication that I like to tell this thing that I did not mention to you. This is amazing that I discovered, by looking at the monetary systems, and especially the effect on inflation. You know what is happening? It's happening in societies when the system is riba based like this, when the prices are rising. So cost of having children, rearing children rises. Cost of living also rising for the person. Cost of retirement also rising, right? So what people are doing that, look, if I want to retire comfortably, and many people are now, they tend to live very long, than what they predicted, you see. So when you predict you tend to live a little bit longer, and then you are saving money for your retirement. So people are saying, look, cost here is rising, cost there rising, better have less children. better have less children so that I can save money for my retirement. This is happening in many societies. So when this happens in many societies, you look at Singapore, you look at Japan, you look at entire Europe, and the population is shrinking. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, the former Prime Minister of Singapore, he said this is the #1 problem for Singapore. And he said he has tried all means, but you could not solve it. You cannot solve it. In Europe also, it is shrinking like any. You go there, mostly old people. You go to Japan and see it is old people. So when it's old people arising, they have two problems. One is, of course, aging problem. Number 2 is the future labor shortage. All industries will need labor force, isn't it? All these industries will face shortage in labor force.
Oh yeah, because old age.
Yeah, because no supply,
no
young coming. You see? So all these societies are shrinking and they cannot solve it. They have tried all means, they cannot solve it. So I tell to all these societies facing this problem, Islam is the answer for it. Eliminate riba from your system and your population will rise again.
How?
Because once you remember I was mentioning it is because of the interest, the exponential growth that's causing the price rise. When there's no interest, it won't grow like that. Then the monetary system and the real system go parallel when you use real money. So the solution is we must use real money and there must be no riba interest in the society. Then you see your society grow again. Otherwise, you go on like this, ultimately the society will destroy by itself.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially now, I'm very worried about Japan. I go there almost every year, to teach this. I see this very serious. That's why in Japan, they are, in my opinion, why they are speeding up robotics. You go to a restaurant, robot comes and serves you, takes the plates and everything. There's one hotel 100% run by robots. Even the receptionist is a robot.
Is it?
Yeah. It's a crocodile, shape of crocodile, but you can take your passport and do things. And there's two muscular looking robots, standing beside to carry your bag to the room, 100% run by robots. But I tell people, look, yes, it's nice, very interesting to watch all this. But as the population dies and everything and then replaced by robots, then ultimately what will happen to Japan? It will be a country of robots. Isn't it? So it's not solving the problem, even though it looks very exciting, it's not solving the problem. So to solve the problem, address the riba issue. You see? Address the riba issue, then you will save your population and save your culture and language. You see? So this is what, so many of them, they cannot say these things. So we Muslims now, we have to give the solution. We want them to be there. We want to see the Japanese culture. We want to see the Indian culture. We want to see the European culture remain, you see. We don't want to see all this die off, isn't it? So this is what we need to give to the world. But first of all, we must self-understand, if I am using still paper money, then I am probably at war with Allah and messages that the Quran says. That maybe I am weak. Look at Palestine, when they were signing the Oslo Accord, when they saying peace treaty with Israel, one of the conditions is that the Palestinians must accept the Israeli shekel as one of the legal tender there, money there. So the moment you accept that, okay, the Israeli shekel is money in the Palestinian territory, you already signed your defeat already. Because they can easily print a thing and whatever you produce, they buy. Isn't it? So we have to understand this issue of riba. Very important.
Very crucial.
Crucial. This is what we, the movement for monetary justice, we are trying to do. Try to make the awareness, then try to bring solutions, not just talk the problems only. Solutions, gather people. We are not here to counter or create problem for anybody or country or others or non-Muslims. No. This is a system that's good for Muslims and non-Muslims. It's talking about justice, it's talking about economic stability, it's talking about sustainability of your environment, we are talking about your own culture and people, you see. So it is good for everybody. You see? This is what the movement is all about.